Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among other things. Now what we're going to do is take a look at Ethereum Classic. Once more, I've covered this a few times already, and I get a lot of requests for it, so that's the main reason that I'm reviewing it here again today. This is, again, just the technical data, no fundamentals here. If you have insight on the fundamentals, please comment below. I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. Please always do your own research. Furthermore, I have a link to my Telegram community and Patreon account. Feel free to reference that down below in the comments section, as well as $25 in Bitcoin from Voyager. Let's go ahead and check it out. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum Classic. And as per usual, if you're new to the channel, what we usually do is take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first, just to set a baseline to kind of see what's going on in the market, because obviously those things are highly impacted by Bitcoin and Ethereum, so it's important to understand what that looks like before you make a decision to invest, right? So it's all about covering your bases, and that's what we're going to do here today. So let's take a look at Bitcoin first. Now Bitcoin looks like it is selling off again. Big surprise here. We were at almost 59,500. That was approximately 24 hours ago, and it's managed to work its way all the way down to 54,700. Okay, so good news is we do have a support level here, 53,300, that's still likely going to hold because it does appear that it was almost tested and rejected recently with the sell-off that occurred maybe about 8 hours ago. Okay, and again, forgot to mention this is a 4-hour chart for Bitcoin, and I have the 50, 100, and 200-day moving averages up for this here. And just to quickly note, see if I get a better picture here for you. The 250-day moving average were essentially considered as support lines, right at 57,000. So that's still a major support and resistance level, because obviously you can see it's been dancing above and below that for a while now. It's kind of annoying how it's been doing this. It is creating a complete state of indecision in the market where our altcoins decide they want to ramp up, and then this happens again every few days. It's almost coincidental, right? I'm sure there's something to it, but bigger than us, right? So what we can do as the little guys is try to make sure we prepare for that and to get what we can. So always, before you make a decision, right, look at Bitcoin first to kind of see what's going on there, because this really has a major impact on what our altcoins are doing. As well as the fact, and I want to mention this too, the 100-day moving average was a support line. Now it's considered to be as a resistance. So it might test this resistance level when it comes back up. So we'll see what happens there. I don't put a lot of weight in the 100-day moving average. The 200 is probably the most impactful on the 4-hour chart, but just something to note. Moving on, let's look at Ethereum. Same thing as well here. It is directly impacted by Bitcoin, and nobody's really came over to essentially try to drive the price up yet because Bitcoin's still dropping dramatically. But if you were to do the math on how much Bitcoin dropped just now versus how much Ethereum has dropped, Ethereum is doing much better overall, just no matter how you look at it, okay? And the main reason why is because people do, when they sell Bitcoin, they have a tendency of jumping over to Ethereum, and that causes the price to essentially, I guess, level out. So anytime Bitcoin has a major sell-off, like this previous one here, the price has a tendency of consolidating instead of going down further. So it's a good sign about Ethereum. It does tend to complement when Bitcoin goes down. It has a tendency usually of going up a little bit, okay? Just something to be aware of. Again, this is a 4-hour chart. One last thing, as the 50-day moving average is trending upwards, we might get tested soon. I thought it'd be a couple weeks down the road, but at this point, it does look like it might be a few days. So we'll see what happens soon. Just pay attention to how the price reacts to the 50-day moving average. It could work as a support. All right, so moving on to Ethereum Classic. And what we always do, if you're new to the channel, is just take a look at the 1-day chart first, work our way down, and then we can kind of identify big picture and just get a full understanding of how it's going, okay? So looking at the 1-day chart, let's take a look at this here. So as we can see, we've got some retracement occurring because obviously the price went up significantly, okay? So we had, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extremely strong bullish days. Now, I don't know if you've heard me say this before, but anytime we see a bull run last for 5 days or longer, it's because there's periods of consolidation in between every other day usually, right? So just say, for example, BNB, when it went on that crazy tear for like 10 days roughly, it had short periods of consolidation in between because it helped the price not to be considered overbought, and it kept that momentum going, right? But when the bulls push way too hard, there's going to be resistance, and that's what we're seeing here, because the price came up way too fast, way too quick, and it couldn't hold on to that momentum, right? Which is why we see the RSI extremely overbought. I mean, it's practically topped out at 95. I mean, who would have even thought that it even went that high, right? And then, of course, we got a retracement. It tried to recover here, of course, but that's normal. And it got kind of pushed back down just because of the simple fact that, again, it rose up too quickly. Say, for example, instead, it rose up and did one of these here. It did a consolidation in between each bull run, if you will. Then the price would just consistently be coming up, and we wouldn't see this kind of retracement. It'd be much more subtle. Okay, so pay attention to that. If you see a massive bull run for this long, you can expect the price to come back down. It's almost always 4 to 5 days of just straight bull, bullish sentiment, if you will. If it's just that strong, then you're going to see that kind of retracement. Okay. So I like to look at that when the RSI, all the other indicators don't matter. If we see 5 strong days of bullish territory, it's time to sell, and it's time to get out quickly. Especially when it hits I can only imagine what that percentage is. What is that in one day? Yeah, approximately 110%, 107. Like, duh. You gotta get out before it's too late. So hopefully you didn't FOMO in here at the last minute. Never do that. Look at the 1 day chart when you see a price this high, this extended, and you see it's like, okay, this is the 3rd or 4th day of a bullish run. Then it might be a safe consideration to try to get out. I personally got out a little early, but it wasn't that early when you think about it, because it's still above this price right now. So I think I got out right in like the 130, 140 range, but it was easy to identify looking at this 1 day chart. Again, something for future reference. If you see this happen, it happens time and time again in cryptocurrency, okay? Last but not least, MACD is trending downward, or just kind of flattening out, so to speak, not trending downwards, excuse me. Basically just means that it's at a state of indecision right now. So what we should see is probably maybe a day or two more of consolidation, because again, this big bar right here is because of what happened with Bitcoin today. We'll see that on the 4-hour chart. But I would not be surprised if the price continues to kind of work itself into a channel and eventually break out above the potential support lines. Okay, so we'll take a look at that. All right, this is actually pretty good. I like this here. So first of all, this is the previous wedge pattern that I drew, I think in the last review, and I was predicting that it would either break up or break down. It broke up, which was nice, but it came back down eventually because, again, the price was overextended for too long, too high, and this is kind of working as a support level. Now it's a resistance. So we're looking at a resistance level right at or around $110. Okay. As you can see, it was tested once, almost twice here today, but good news is the price is traveling above the 50-day moving average. So this is working as a current support level, which is awesome, because even when the price came back down, it came up and it closed above. That's a good sign. Because it doesn't matter how far this little wick is, the important thing is that it closed above that line. All right, and looking down below here too, just to note, you see less volume overall, which is pretty standard, pretty normal. It is nice to see after such a strong red bar here, you see a taller volume bar. That tells us that the bulls don't believe the price should be that low and that it needs to be higher. So there could be a chance of the price recovering pretty quickly. But again, if you look at this here, this is when Bitcoin sold off and it consolidated. Bitcoin sold off again. So those things are factoring into Ethereum Classic right now, and we got to be aware of it. Okay. So before you take entry on Ethereum Classic, see what the overall sentiment is for Bitcoin. Take a look at the 4-hour chart really quick, and then you can identify, okay, well, it's recovering, it's still above its support levels. That means Ethereum Classic should not go any lower. Okay. And once we see a day or two of Bitcoin being comfortable and no longer doing its state of indecision, we should likely see some type of positive momentum, perhaps likely in an upward fashion here, as long as we can break this resistance level of approximately $110. Okay. So again, that's the 4-hour chart. RSI is in good shape. It's kind of right in the middle, and then the MACD is kind of trending downward, which is pretty standard for right now. So it does look like it's almost at its peak, as you see this little red bars down here. I don't know if that comes up very well on the camera, or the screen rather, but it's getting really close to like the max length. And usually we'll start seeing some kind of reverse momentum. So these are all good signs. I personally feel that we're looking pretty good right now. I can comfortably say that this appears to be a pretty good price, I would say. And here's another thing to note too, because while we're here, we may as well mark this. I see that this previous resistance, 1, 2, 3, 4 times, this line was resisting 4 times in a row. So why don't we go ahead and mark that? Because if you look at it here, it was tested here and rejected with a slight variance. So that is a great sign. That basically means the price is in this channel right now. And if it continues to consolidate and the volume comes down a little further, we should likely see some type of breakout. Bear in mind though, with this having been tested 4 and then a 5th time, it's a pretty strong support level right now. So that's a good sign. And the inverse also applies too, however, with this resistance. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 times it was tested and eventually rejected on the 5th. So they're both equally as strong as one another, if that makes sense. So, it will have to take some kind of catalyst to drive it up above. What we'll see here, of course, is if the price breaks above or below, it will break above or below in this kind of fashion. It'll probably break fast and it'll probably break hard, because it has a history of doing that. So just pay attention to that. Of course, best way to do that, to prevent that or prevent missing out, is to essentially do your research and look at it. So let's find a good entry point on the 50-minute chart really quick. Okay, so as we can see, the support and resistance levels, price is directly in the center there. Not bad, neither bad nor good. Price is traveling under VWAP right now, so I don't love that. That's another potential resistance level. And the same thing with the moving average coming down. The 50-day moving average can work as a resistance in this scenario, but I don't put a lot of weight into it, of course, because if we, I always like to get rid of the 100 and 200-day moving average on the 50-minute chart. They don't have a lot of validity. At least the moving averages do. EMA lines are a little different, but what I'm getting at here is the fact that price is under VWAP, and we've got 3 potential resistance lines above, only 1 support line below. Okay, so absolutely make sure you wait for confirmation before you take entry. Just because the price appears to be affordable and nice doesn't mean you have to take entry. At least that's what you should do as a cognizant trader. Don't act on emotion. Don't feel like you have to get in here to average your price down. Just look at the facts, look at the numbers here. It could very well increase above and keep going. It has a tendency of doing that. But I can tell you, to be safe, you'd probably want to wait for this line to be tested again, or to at least wait for the volume weight average price to be tested, hold above for at least 2 solid green bars. Let me give you an example of what that looks like. First of all, if you look back here, see the VWAP line here is this blue line. So this is the VWAP line here. When the price closes above the VWAP line, that is essentially one confirmation, right? So this green bar right here closed above the VWAP, right? So that would be 1 green bar. You always want to wait at least 2 solid green bars on the 15-minute chart. That's 30 minutes total. The second bar was not green, was it? That was red. Not good. So reset, start over. Right here, first solid green bar closing above the volume weight average price. Awesome, that's perfect. Second one closed above average price. So you should likely consider taking entry right here. Okay? And yes, of course, I know what you're going to say. The price went up and came right back down. Of course, it's because it bounced off the resistance level right here. So you always want to be careful to take entry when the price is below the resistance line, because that's what's going on right here. That's the reason why it was rejected. Okay. So again, that's why you mark your resistance and support levels first. Take a look at your entry and see where your other support levels are. In this case, the VWAP in this scenario was a support level. So that was actually good confirmation. So what you could have done is likely taken a position right around here and then got out just before it tested the support level, the resistance level. Because if it doesn't break resistance, then you have a tendency of obviously the price reversing, which it did. Okay. So that is what I wanted to kind of give you an example of. Another example here too. Let's one last further for this here. Stick with me. You see this guy right here, this little one right here? That did not close You see the green bar did not close above VWAP. So that's basically a no-go. You can't take entry there. But if you looked at this and you're like, oh, there's 2 solid green bars, I'm going to take entry. Not a good entry point because it wasn't enough confirmation. Okay, a good confirmation would have been this guy to close right above that and then to see what would happen from there. So again, these are just little things that you want to try to add to your scenario. There's no perfect situation. Rarely will you see the 2 green bars line up perfectly and get in early. Usually when you see the 2 green bars that I'm referring to, the price action is halfway to its peak. And that's okay for me because I am, again, conservative. I like to gain 3 to 6% per day on a trade like this, or an overall total portfolio increase of 1% to 2%. And I'm fine by that. I like that kind of growth. That's consistent and I'm not losing money, and I like that. And the reason why I do this is because I've lost a lot of money in the past and I'm so tired of it, I'll never do it again. Just why I make this video, so you can make sure that you make an informed decision, hopefully mitigate your loss, right? Because cryptocurrency is way different than traditional stock market. There's so much volume and volatility, it's insane. Another thing to pay attention to is when the volume comes down and goes low, you want to be careful because that's a period of consolidation. It could spike at any time. That's a conversation for another day, but generally speaking, what we're looking at here is just, it's good that this is in its channel, but I don't feel comfortable with these 3 resistance levels above the price right now. I think we need to wait for further confirmation personally. And that's what I would do. You do you, do what works best for you, and obviously if you have any considerations or comments, let me know down below. But there's not much else to really look at too, because I guess we could look at the 1-minute chart here and throw on the 15 EMA and kind of see what's going on. But generally speaking, I don't see a lot here that really speaks to me. Yeah, again, the 15-day EMA line, price is underneath it. Okay, and it's holding it down too as well. So another further confirmation on the 1-day chart, the 1-minute chart, that essentially tells us that the price is not holding. As you can see, it's trying to come down again. Okay, so only time you ever want to take entry, at least on the 1-minute chart, would be when you have at least 3 solid green bars, basically 3 minutes, closing above support level. Okay. And it's hard to kind of find something like that in this market right here, but I can tell you that you're better off in this case waiting, I feel, to see if the support level is tested, or at least for the price to come above the volume weighted average price right now, which is currently hovering right around 105, 106 range. Okay. Because again, a lot of this is happening right now because of the way that Bitcoin is responding to, its change, right? Because if you look here, Bitcoin's doing almost the exact same thing. So you want to pay attention to these patterns. Okay. And sometimes looking at Bitcoin first gives you an indication of buy signals, because if you see a buy signal on Bitcoin, then something like this might respond in suit with it, right? There's no exact science there. Every coin's different. Depends on how close they work together. But some of the major altcoins have a tendency of doing that. Anyway, okay, enough rambling. Sorry. I hope you found this beneficial. Like and subscribe if you haven't, and thank you so much if you have already. You're all awesome, great community. Join my Telegram. Feel free to reach out to me through Patreon and contribute if you would like to feel the need there. But nonetheless, I appreciate you all. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next video.